Everyone is asking if the Pimax 8K OLED fixes VR, but that is the wrong question to ask. People think OLED is about blacks and contrast, that it will give instant immersion and realism, and OLED automatically means it's better clarity for sim racing. But there's a limit on these assumptions. I've been sim racing for years and have only done this in VR. Car setup building, racing, endurance races, everything. And in this video, we're gonna cover all of these aspects. Let's get into it. The real problem in VR is GPU demand, and the OLED doesn't solve it. It increases the problem. Higher resolutions, tighter frame time tolerances, less margin for frame drops, and if your GPU can't keep up, OLED doesn't improve VR, it exposes its weakness. And before I can explain that, first we need to think about how OLED panels stack up to QLED panels. Now here you can see a list, and obviously there are more accurate points about these differences, but that's also the next point I want to make. This video is not going to explain how much extra field of view and how much we're gonna measure that. It's also not gonna show with lighting measurements how much light is in the headset and all that stuff. I will just share my experience that I have with this OLED module and why I'm not using the QLEDs anymore. There is this truth you need to understand, that you only get awesome visuals if you have an awesome system. You get a big system and you get a good headset. So the headset and the GPU work together. Now I've been using the Crystal Light, and if you have a mid-tier system, the Crystal Light is great. When you get a big GPU power, the Crystal Light might fall short because like you kind of bottleneck the headset. Now that is a subjective thing. This is all a subjective video, take note. But if you want to keep increasing those visuals, you should pick a Pimax Super, for instance, or equivalent some headsets that will do the same resolution and all that stuff. The promise with the OLED is that we get better visuals, don't we? So if we just create a better headset, then it's gonna be looking a lot better with a mid-tier GPU as well. And this is just an idea, just to get you thinking about visuals and PC systems. Truth is, with the Pimax 8K OLED, is that if we have our system that isn't a super strong system, so think about 4090, 5090, maybe 5080, if we cannot push the resolution of the 8K OLED, it's actually going to suffer a lot more than the QLED modules. I will explain this in the next slide. Look at this image, okay? Let's just imagine a QLED module would give you this image. So you have decent colors, you have good frame rates. If you are used to this picture, then you'll be happy with a QLED panel, trust me. If you have a good system. So good. What would the image look like on an OLED panel? And this is what you kind of get, or at least it's the expectation if you're looking at all the reviews and how it's gonna look, but the reality is more like this. Now, take it as a grain of salt. See this difference? This is more what it's like for me. If you zoom over here, you see this? This is the added sharpness of the OLED panels. If you're liking this content this far, could you please hit that like button and check out the description. There is always some cool bonuses when you're using my exclusive discount codes, so have a look. And I'm not gonna lie, on a QLED panel, that is gonna look better in the far side. So if you're looking far away, then on the QLED panels, on the 50 ppd for instance, this is gonna look more decent. And do take note, it does really depend on some anti-aliasing settings, and it does depend on what kind of simulation you drive or how the game was projecting these type of like objects, obviously. But this is just an example from Le Mans Ultimate, and it's too obvious to ignore. To prove to you what I am trying to explain here, I'm testing out all of these headsets all the time because I do generally want the best experience for everyone who tries out VR. So this is what I'm doing. When I drop my resolution to 50% on the OLED module, you get that snowy stuff on the fences and on the thin lines and on the lines in menus. It's gonna be so much worse than on the QLED panels. I tried lower resolutions on the OLED and QLED panels just to see what's happening with my GPU. So for instance, if I would do 0.60, my GPU, my 5090, is loaded by like 50 or 40%, sometimes 30. Now I don't know if that's equivalent to a 3080, but on an OLED module, that just doesn't look good. It's also not gonna look great on a Crystal Light. It's also not gonna look great on a Super, but it's gonna be so much more, forgiving on how the visuals are. So think about a very undampened visuals with the OLED. Now I was running a pretty high resolution, like 0.9 on almost native with the settings of Le Mans Ultimate. Those settings I will also put in my free Patreon in the description. Now I know what you're thinking. You think, oh my god, it's actually not that good, this OLED headset. But the truth is also that these QLED modules in my sim racing room are collecting dust at the moment. This is far superior over the QLED, and I will explain why. And that is because I run this system and I am able to run the resolution. And if I'm almost close to native resolutions with the settings that I'm using for Le Mans Ultimate. And it's not just the sharpness and the color and the depth, but there's something else that this module does way better than all the other QLED modules. You see this? This is binocular overlap. If you're looking from left to right inside the headset, on every QLED module, you'll see this. And on the ultra wide it's a bit worse, and on the 50 ppd it's okay. You also have it on the Crystal Light, but with the OLED you have this as well, but it's so much better. And if you have your field of view, it's gonna have this great sharp image and you have a lot of free eye movement. And this is especially important when you are looking at menus, when you're looking at lap time delta, maybe you're in a flight sim, you want to look at gauges or whatever. Now what about field of view? Well, I've been using all of these headsets, and the truth is I don't want to use my 50 ppd anymore. And I don't really care about the ultra wide as well. But I'm really picture sharpness biased. I would sacrifice frame time, so I'm running these at 72 FPS. I'm sacrificing frame rates and field of view for a good sharp image. If you're really concerned with field of view and peripheral vision and whatever, then yes, this is gonna be a bit smaller. That's true. But again, I'm in GT3 cars and I have like this flaps from the seat, and if I put on a ultra wide headset, then I'm gonna see those flaps. So for me as a GT3 simulation driver, I don't really care about these few extra degrees of field of view. So I think this one is a lot better overall. But you need to understand that the distortion and the sharp edges, yes, it can start to snow and it's gonna look like jittery, whatever, and it's gonna get worse with lower end GPUs. That's the end verdict. Now there is also another thing that people have said, it's about the brightness. The QLED modules were too bright for me, so I had to tune down the brightness, and on the OLED I was just increasing it a little bit and it's kind of okay. I recently did 4 hours of driving non-stop with this OLED module, and I have to admit that for me it was more calm on the eyes as well. Now I don't know why that is, but I think that the QLED module is more harsh on my eyes in some way. So, and it's not because of brightness, but it's just like more like comfortable to look at this deeper contrast somehow. A big question you might have is that should I upgrade from my 50 ppd to the OLED? Or should I upgrade from a crystal light to this super headset? Well, I will tell you right now, if you switch from a crystal light and you have the system for it and you go to this OLED, you'll be in for a hell of an upgrade. But to fully understand that upgrade, I highly recommend this video because I stacked them up together. So I'm comparing all of the Pimax headsets with a graph and hierarchy you never seen anywhere else. Thanks for watching.